Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings for Tuesday, September the 18th. We have a really big slate tonight, a 14-game MLB slate. Pitching on the slate, really loaded. We have 5 options that are over 10K on DraftKings. Got Snell, Kershaw, Nola, Kluber, and Strasburg all on the slate. Also got Tyon in a good matchup at home against the Royals. Got Derek Holland facing the Padres. On the other side of that game, we'll talk about Joey Lucchesi. Really like him. It's just a really loaded slate, got a lot of options to choose from. We'll be sure to break it down, go through the pitchers, talk about some of the pitchers I like on this slate. We'll talk about the bats I like, the stacks I like, go over some BVP plays as well. But before we do get started, guys, we'd really appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. Definitely means a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. My Week 3 NFL DraftKings Picks video will be out on Tuesday afternoon. So if you want to check that out, should be out about 12 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday. Would appreciate it if you would give that video a like. If you're going to be playing NFL DFS on Sunday, I feel like you'll want to give that video a watch. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at today's MLB slate, talk about the pitching. We got Blake Snell as our most expensive option. He's facing the Rangers on the road at 12,100. I don't expect Blake Snell to be very popular today, and that's one of the reasons I have a ton of interest in him. It's a bad park. We all know this. Playing in Texas in the heat is just not good for pitchers. But Blake Snell, this guy's just such a good pitcher. It's a spot where Blake Snell can rack up strikeouts. Even though it's a bad pitching environment, he can still rack up a ton of Ks against this lineup. This lineup has a lot of lefties in it, and Snell just dominant against lefties. Chu, Odor, Mazzara, a lot of these guys will strike out versus lefties. Gallo obviously strikes out a ton. Chirinos has a ton of power, but he strikes out a lot. Guzman will strike out. Just so many Ks for Snell. He's a heavy favorite. He's minus 195 favorite. There's a good chance he gets a win. With him being the most expensive pitcher pitching in Texas, I don't expect him to be very popular today. But it's pretty likely he could wind up just crushing in this matchup. Could easily get 10-plus strikeouts. Snell's just been one of the best pitchers in the league as of late. I love him here, even on the road. If Snell was pitching at home at the same price tag, he'd probably be the chalk for today. But I just have a feeling since he's on the road in Texas, people aren't really going to look to him. But I think that is a mistake. I think Snell can just mow down this lineup, even though it's a tough pitching environment. So we'll look at some of the other pitchers real quickly. You do have Kershaw at home against the Rockies. Don't think I'm going to be on Kershaw today. I'd just rather get up to Snell. I think Snell just has more upside than Kershaw. Nola's 10-9 and he's facing the Mets. I don't mind Nola if you want to play him. But I think Kluber would probably be my favorite option if I'm going to play one of the 10K pitchers. I know Kluber's been up and down recently, and his last start against the Rays, I believe, he just got absolutely shelled. But this is a good spot for Kluber. He's at home. He's facing a White Sox team that we know just strikes out a ton versus right-handed pitching. So I don't mind Kluber at 10-6. Him and Snell are probably going to be the two guys I really focus on if I'm paying up at pitcher. I'll have a little Strasburg, a little Nola. I don't think I'm going to be on much Kershaw. If I say I play 20 lineups, or if I were to play 20 lineups on DK, I'd probably play Snell in about 7 or 8, probably play Kluber in like 2 or 3, Strasburg in like 2 or 3, maybe Nola in a couple as well, and then those rest, like those other 2-3 lineups, I'll probably just go for 2 cheap pitching options. I definitely like the expensive pitching on this slate, though. I think you are going to want to pay up for at least one of these expensive guys, and Snell is obviously my favorite. But there are other mid-tier plays if you do not want to pay up. If you want to try and fit in some expensive bats, you got mid-tier and value plays on this slate at pitcher, at least I feel like. You got Tyon at home against the Royals, who I don't mind at 9,200. You got Derek Holland facing the Padres at 8,300. You could definitely look to Holland, especially in Petco, good pitcher's park. Don't mind going there. On the other side of that game, I love Joey Lucchesi today. He's probably my favorite mid-tier value option, just because it's such a good matchup. This Giants team is just atrocious. Their lineup is terrible. They have a ton of strikeouts in their lineup, and Lucchesi's actually a pretty good pitcher. This is a guy that can definitely get some strikeouts. And he can easily get strikeouts here against this bad Giants team. When he faced the Giants earlier this year, he went 6 innings, allowed 5 hits, 1 run, got 9 strikeouts, put up 30 DraftKings points when he faced the Giants earlier this year. Lucchesi could easily put up that same amount today. 25 to 30 DK points is definitely a possibility for him. So I like him at 7,600. You pair him with Snell, still leaves you nearly 3,800 remaining per player for your hitters. So you can fit in some sort of mid-tier bats. You can't load up like with your stacks. You can't play an expensive stack if you go with these 2 pitchers, but I don't think there's a ton of expensive stacks I love today. So I like going with Snell, Lucchesi. Looking at some of the other pitchers, though, before we move on to bats, just value, talking about some of the cheap options we could possibly consider. There isn't like any cheap plays I love that's like sub 7K, like any really cheap value. You do have Aaron Sanchez. People might go to him, and I could see it just because he's facing Baltimore, and we know Baltimore, that team's just so bad. But Sanchez has been so up and down. I don't know if I really want to play him, but he's cheap. He's facing Baltimore, so I figured I would mention him. He'd probably be the guy I would go to if you're just trying to punt pitcher. You do have Josh James, 4K. He's a 4K pitcher facing the Mariners. I don't know if James is fully stretched out, if he's going to pitch like 80, 90 pitches, whatever. If James is going to be able to throw 80 to 90 pitches at 4K, he definitely has to be considered. But obviously we do not know that news right now. If James is going to be on a pitch count, then I don't think we would want to consider him. Aaron Sanchez, if I was going cheap, probably be the guy I'd go to. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at bats for today. I definitely like the Rays on this slate. The Rays are facing Yovani Gallardo in Texas, and obviously we know that's a good hitter's park. The Rays do have a 5.6 implied run total for today, which is the highest on the slate. Love the Rays here. Love Ji-Man Choi at first base. He's relatively cheap, $4,500. Not a great price for Choi, but definitely not. I don't feel like I'm overpaying for him. Because it is a good matchup, Ji-Man Choi has shown power this year, especially versus righties. And he's facing a right-handed pitcher that gives up a lot of power to lefties. Just love this Rays stack. I think it's in play pretty much 1 through 8. I'll have exposure to all of these guys today, especially if I make a lot of lineups. If I make like 20 lineups, I'm going to have plenty of Rays stacks. It's because I feel like they can easily put up runs here versus Gallardo. Gallardo is not a good pitcher. I stack against him every time he's on the mound, especially when he's at home in Texas. You can easily take a team against Gallardo. So I like the Rays, like Ji-Man Choi. Also like Joey Wendell. He's relatively cheap. I think he's only $4,200. Yeah, he's $4,200. Should be batting right behind Choi, if not 2 spots behind him. I think Choi will bat 3rd. Wendell will most likely bat 5th. So you got a little mini stack there. You could fill it out with maybe Tommy Pham. He is expensive. Maybe you look to a guy like Adames or Matt Duffy. Pham's pretty expensive at 5K. But even though Pham is really expensive, I'll probably have exposure to him today. Just because I love the Rays here. Just want to get as much exposure to them as I can. Like Wendell and Choi, definitely 2 of my favorite plays, especially when you factor in their price. Just going to have a lot of exposure to them today. Then my final play is in the outfield. Obviously, since we only have $3,600 remaining per player, I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a value play here. Like Billy McKinney, should be leading off at $3,700 versus Dylan Bundy in Camden Yards. Good hitter's park here. McKinney's going to get to face a pitcher in Bundy who we know just so far this year has been so inconsistent. You just don't know what you're going to get from Bundy. You don't know if he's going to just have a good start. You don't know if he's going to get shelled. Lately, Bundy's just really been struggling, just hasn't been able to put good starts together. I'm pretty sure Bundy's given up the most home runs at any starting pitcher this year. So you could definitely take power bats against Bundy, Smoke, Grichuk, even if you want to play maybe Gurriel. McKinney's shown some power this year. I know he's got a couple homers, has 4 homers on the year. Could possibly take Bundy deep. Just like a lot of these upside Blue Jays, like Smoke, Grichuk, McKinney. If Morales is in the lineup, you could possibly consider him. I think a Blue Jay stack is definitely in play today. And I really like McKinney. Leading off at $3,700. I feel like he's one of the better value plays on this slate, especially in the outfield. But yeah, guys, that's it for my 5 plays for this 14-game MLB slate. Blake Snell, Joey Lucchesi, Ji-Man Choi, Joey Wendell, and Billy McKinney. Now we'll quickly go over some of the stacks I like, some BVP plays as well. So I mentioned my favorite stack. It's the Rays. Their 5.6 implied run total just really stands out to me. They're facing a bad pitcher in Gallardo. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to the Rays today. But if there are some other teams we could possibly look at some of the other high totals. If you don't pay up for pitcher today, if you decide to go with like 2 mid-tier pitchers or maybe even 2 value pitchers, an expensive stack you could look to is the Brewers. They have a 5.3 implied run total versus the Reds and Michael Lorenzen, who I believe will be making a spot start here. I don't think Lorenzen's a guy that normally starts. He usually comes out of the bullpen. So you might get some Reds bullpen game versus the Brewers. So guys like Yelich, Kane, if you go cheap at pitcher and you want to stack the Brewers today, you could definitely stack that team. But I don't think I'm really going to force the Brewers in today. You got the Indians at home, and you can always consider the Indians at home. Even though Rodon's not really a guy I typically try and pick on. I know he's really bad at holding runners. You can definitely steal on Rodon. So Lindor and Ramirez you could possibly consider here. But I think that's really it for like the stacks I love. I'm really focused on the Rays. I mentioned the Blue Jays. I do like the Blue Jays here versus Bundy. I think you could go there. Maybe some Twins versus Daniel Norris, but I'm not really thrilled about the Twins here. It's really the Blue Jays. It's the Rays. Maybe a couple Indians as well, but mainly the Rays, the team I just really like on this slate. So I think that's it for stacks. Let's quickly look at some BVP plays today. There are a ton of them for a 14-game slate, so I'll just try and cover the ones with a decent sample size. If you do want to look at all the BVP plays, you can go to this website, rotowire.com/baseball/stats-BVP, or you can just pause the video and just look at them. But I'll just go for the ones with about a 20 at-bat sample. So we'll start off with Chris Davis, who has gone 8 for 23 with 4 home runs versus Aaron Sanchez. Francisco Lindor, 8 for 27 with 2 home runs versus Rodon. Jose Abreu, 16 for 50 with 5 home runs versus Kluber. Let's see here. Gerardo Parra, 13 for 38 with a home run versus Kershaw. Nolan Arenado, 16 for 52 with 3 home runs versus Kershaw. Chris Iannetta, 8 for 27 with a home run. And Carlos Gonzalez gone 10 for 47 with 3 home runs. And lastly, Justin Turner, 11 for 20 off of Kyle Freeland. And Eric Hosmer has gone 9 for 21 with the home run off of Derek Holland. So that's it for BVP, guys. And I think that's it for this 14-game slate. I think that's it for the video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully this video did help you. If you enjoyed, make sure you click that like button before you get out of here. Would really appreciate it. If you are new to the channel and you have not subscribed yet, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. If you have any questions, you can always hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Make sure you check out my NFL Week 3 video. Should be out on Tuesday, either sometime in the morning or sometime in the afternoon. Would appreciate it if you would give me some feedback on that video. But yeah, I think that's it. Good luck tonight, guys, and we will see you back again on Wednesday. Peace.